Every single day, your dog looks at you hundreds of times. Most of those glances last less than a second. They're so quick, you barely notice them. A glance before crossing the street, a glance before walking toward another dog, a glance after hearing a strange sound outside. To you, they're meaningless, just another habit. But scientists now believe those tiny moments reveal one of the most extraordinary relationships ever discovered between two species. Because despite what almost everyone believes, your dog doesn't actually see you as its owner. Not exactly, and almost certainly not as its leader. The truth is far stranger than that. In fact, by the end of this video, you may never look at your dog the same way again. For decades, we thought we understood dogs. Books told us they were constantly trying to figure out who was in charge. Television trainers repeated it. Dog owners repeated it. Your dog pulls on the leash, he's testing your authority. He jumps on the couch, he's trying to dominate you. He ignores a command, he's challenging your position in the pack. It all sounded convincing. There was only one problem. Almost none of it was true. The famous alpha dog theory was largely built on observations of unrelated wolves forced to live together in captivity. Wild wolves don't behave that way, and dogs aren't wolves. Thousands of years of evolution changed them in ways we are only beginning to understand. Which raises a fascinating question. If your dog doesn't spend its life wondering who's in charge, then what exactly is happening inside its mind every time it looks at you? The answer began to emerge from a quiet laboratory in Hungary. Imagine walking into a room you've never seen before. Everything smells unfamiliar. Nothing feels predictable. Now imagine someone you trust completely is standing beside you. Suddenly, the room doesn't feel quite so intimidating anymore. That's exactly what researchers wanted to test. At Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest, scientists invited dogs into an unfamiliar room. Sometimes their owner stayed with them, sometimes a stranger took their owner's place, sometimes the dogs entered alone. The experiment itself wasn't complicated. The results were. When their owner was present, the dogs explored, they wandered, they investigated. They recovered quickly from unexpected events, but when their owner disappeared, everything changed. Many became hesitant, some stopped exploring almost entirely, others stayed close to the door, waiting, watching, as if the entire room had suddenly become less predictable. It wasn't the room that changed, it was their relationship to it, and that's when researchers realized something remarkable. Dogs weren't treating their owners like dominant pack leaders. They were treating them much more like human infants treat a parent. Psychologists call this a secure base, a person whose presence quietly tells your brain you are safe enough to explore. Think about that for a second. Your dog isn't brave because the room feels safe. The room feels safe because you're in it. Now here's where things become even stranger. Have you ever been walking your dog when something completely ordinary suddenly became terrifying? A plastic bag blown by the wind, a statue they've somehow never noticed before, a bicycle leaning against a wall. Your dog freezes, its ears lift, its body becomes perfectly still, and then, almost instantly, it looks at you. Most owners think that glance means, "What should I do?" But that's not what many researchers now believe is happening. That tiny look is asking something much deeper. How should I feel? And the difference between those two questions changes everything. Because your dog isn't simply looking for instructions, it's borrowing your interpretation of reality. And once you understand how that works, you'll realize that your emotions influence your dog far more than your commands ever could.
Here's the part that surprised researchers most. This kind of checking in isn't something dogs do with just anyone. Studies on this behavior have found dogs perform it almost exclusively with people they're attached to, rarely with strangers, and almost never with other dogs. which means every time your dog glances at your face before deciding how to react, they're not confirming you're the one in charge. They're confirming you're the one whose reaction actually matters to them. Out of everyone in the room, they chose you to ask. And there's one very physical way this shows up, one most owners have watched their dog do 1,000 times without realizing what it meant. We'll get to that in a moment, because once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Watch your dog closely the next time something unfamiliar enters a space you share, a new person, an unexpected noise, another dog passing outside the window. Where does your dog choose to stand? Because it's almost never random. Some dogs do the block, stepping slightly between you and whatever feels unresolved, angling their body to widen the gap. Others do the lean, pressing their full weight against your leg without ever breaking eye contact with the source of the tension. Some do the back-to-back, sitting facing outward, tail or hip touching your foot, as if they've silently agreed to split the job. And some just rest a paw on your foot, light and repeated, like checking a signal is still connected. Whichever version your dog does, the mechanism underneath is the same. They're using your body as the reference point for how close is close enough to still feel safe. Take that anchor away, remove you from the room entirely, and the same dog who stood calm a moment ago will often turn restless, vocal, hyper-alert. The threat outside didn't change, their access to you did. If any of this is making you rethink how your dog actually experiences you, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. This channel exists to explain what dog behavior really reveals, not what we've always assumed it means. Now here's what happens to that bond on a level you can't see at all. Researchers at Linköping University in Sweden spent months tracking stress hormone levels in dogs and their owners together over time. What they found wasn't a brief mirroring of mood in a stressful moment. It was something slower and stranger. The dog's long-term cortisol patterns gradually synchronized with their owner's baseline stress levels, almost like two nervous systems quietly tuning to the same frequency over weeks. Oddly, the dog's own personality barely mattered. What mattered was you. Your dog's long-term physiological state is being shaped by yours, whether either of you has ever noticed. Which brings us to the thing worth staying for. If your dog has spent their whole life anchoring their sense of safety to you, what happens when that anchor is suddenly, unexpectedly gone? A hospital stay, a move, a stretch of weeks where your schedule pulls you away longer than usual. To your dog, it isn't a minor inconvenience. It can genuinely destabilize the one reference point their nervous system has always relied on to read the world. You might see it in small ways first. A dog who can't settle in rooms they used to sleep in easily. A dog who starts shadowing every step you take, as if quietly reconfirming the anchor is still there. A dog who suddenly reacts to sounds and situations that never used to register at all, because the filter they normally borrow from you has gone quiet. None of this is regression, and it isn't stubbornness. It's a nervous system trying to recalibrate without the one signal it was built to trust most. If your dog has seemed unsettled for no clear reason lately, it's worth asking what shifted in your presence, and if it doesn't resolve, worth mentioning to your vet. Your dog was never trying to work out where they ranked beneath you. They were never testing you, never quietly plotting to take the top spot in some invisible hierarchy. They were doing something far simpler and far more remarkable. In 100 small ways, every single day, they were checking whether you were still there. Because to your dog, you were never the owner. You were never even just family. You were the reason the world made sense at all.